Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holmes Scholars Forum. This is Developing Resilience While Navigating Higher Education, given through the Lander Center for Educational Research. I'm Dr. William Cook. I'm the Associate Director of the Lander Center, and Dr. Velma L. Cobb is the Director of the Lander Center. And our presenters today are Erica Moore, Danica Moyes, and Tani Wilder of the University of Central Florida, Developing Resilience While Navigating Higher Education. And I just want to give you a brief bio of our presenters. Erica Moore, MED, is a doctoral candidate in the University of Central Florida's Exceptional Education Program. In addition, Erica is an inclusive specialist and adjunct professor in UCF's Inclusive Post-Secondary Education Program for students with intellectual disabilities. With over 10 years of experience in education, she dedicates her research to expertise to enhancing youth and young adults with significant disabilities learning and life outcomes by promoting equitable opportunities in education and employment. Welcome, Erica. And next, we have Danica Moyes, MA, BC, BA, is a first generation scholar and third year doctoral candidate in the Exceptional Education Program at the University of Central Florida. With a background in speech therapy, special education, and applied behavior analysis, Danica has spent her career working with autistic children from disadvantaged schools and underserved communities. Danica aspires to improve the academic, social, emotional, and adult trajectory outcomes for students with disabilities through advocacy and preparation of practitioners entering the special education workforce. Welcome, Danica. And our third speaker is Tani Wilder, MS, CCCSLP, is a doctoral scholar in the Exceptional Education Program at the University of Central Florida. She has over 12 years of experience collaborating with faculty and staff in a variety of educational settings, including public, private, and charter schools. She performs evidence-based therapeutic interventions with a variety of developmental and neurological disorders involving speech, language, cognitive, and feeding delays. Her current research is focused on utilizing biometrics to improve executive functioning and social emotional skills in students with disabilities. Welcome, Erica, Danica, and Tani.
Thank you so much. And we feel quite privileged to be able to, after hearing all that, it's really funny is that we're like, we did that. We do this. So it's so crazy to hear, that being said. But so Dr. Cook had mentioned our academic career, but we'd like to share a little bit of our personal life, just so that you get an understanding of our perspective that brought us to this point. And so I grew up in Miami. I am firstborn generation. And my father is from Haiti and my mom is from the Philippines. So I'm an island girl through and through. But what's really interesting is that I grew up in Little Havana. So Spanish is actually my first language. So there's a lot of intersectionality and cultures that are just, that I've been just privileged to be a part of. So now I'd like Erica to, tell us a little about herself.
Thank you, Tani. Yes, my name is Erica. I'm also from Miami, Florida. I'm the youngest of four, but I'm also a first generation student. I received three of my degrees from the University of Central Florida, and I'm also an island girl. And I'll pass it to my colleague, Danica.
Thank you, Erica. And I'm Danica. You'll also see a fourth face on the screen. Her name is Phoenicia. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it today, but she's definitely a part of our group. And I'm Danica, also from Miami, Florida. And I am the daughter of two immigrant parents from Haiti. And my first language was actually Creole. So I think for me, learning English was such a difficult thing that as I'm coming into these spaces, I'm starting to think about like, what exactly can I do to help them out in that sense? Aside from that, I absolutely love traveling. So we just wanted to give you guys a little bit about our personal selves before we jumped into the rest of the presentation. And on the next screen, what you're gonna see is what we call a culturally relevant introduction. So we wanted to be sure to include something that we did last year. It was a TikTok challenge. It was called Pass the Phone. And we wanted to share that with you guys just so you can have an idea how not only do we work together well, but we take the opportunity to use culturally relevant strategies and practices to incorporate any way that we can. So you'll see it on the next screen.
You might have to enable.
Erica, unmute your mic.
To the most beautiful, logical, prayer-filled, and funny BCBA that I know.
I'm passing the phone to the most motivated, driven, and informed special ed teacher that I know.
I'm passing the phone to the most persistent, driven, personal trainer and educator I know.
I'm passing the phone to 4 of the most gorgeous, brown-skinned, God-fearing, sophisticated, intelligent, determined, audacious, future doctors of philosophy and special education I know, period.
So that is something that we, like I mentioned, we have tried to incorporate in not just teaching about, but practicing culturally responsive practices. And so when we all came together, we established just a group for support where called Mahogany Rose. And we were just so ecstatic to be able to connect with each other on such a level and to support each other. And so we didn't want it to be just about us, but we ended up wanting to chronicle our journey together through this PhD program. And so we created Mahogany Rose University, which is a podcast, and we're talking about special topics in higher education at a PWI. But our mission statement is to unapologetically take up space in education by accepting our excellence and affirming our contributions to the field. But the purpose of our statement is to amplify marginalized group voices by sharing and validating our personal and professional experiences in academia in the field of education. And so having a support system has been key to, at least my survival through this program. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later.
How many of you are familiar with the identity iceberg? It's actually a very popular concept. And what it is about is social awareness and self-awareness. And that's very important, especially at this level and higher education, to really know yourself. We're all researchers, and our research agenda has to do with our passion, our personal passions. And so what the iceberg is that at the above waterline is what anyone can see about you. At the waterline is what people know about you just by observing you. But below the waterline are the things that are a part of your identity that's hidden. And so we wanted to engage with you and ask you to think about one thing that would be above the waterline, one at waterline, and one thing below the waterline, and share it in the chat. So again, at above waterline is what everyone can see about you. At waterline is what people may think about you based on only observing you. And below the waterline is the things that are hidden that are a part of your identity.
Like, you want us to type it in the chat, or we can say it?
Yes. Whatever you prefer. If you want to share in the chat, that's fine. If you want to unmute your mic and share, because I know some of you are driving, and so yeah, we don't want you texting and driving. So you know, also unmuting and sharing with the group is also fine.
I feel like people can see that I'm like I'm a hardworking person. I feel like that's above waterline. Like, you can kind of just tell that off of me, that I'm very like hardworking and determined. I feel like at waterline, that's what it's called, waterline. I feel like at waterline, I really can't tell what people might think they know, but I would say like at waterline, people probably assume that I'm like mean. I feel like I get that all the time. People tell me that all the time, that they think I'm mean. I'm really not mean, but below waterline, I'm actually really an angry person. I'm not even gonna lie. Nobody knows that I'm an angry person. They think I'm an angry person, but they don't know that for sure. But yeah, I feel like that's my thing. I hope I explained it the best way I could. I'm just trying to multitask right now at the same time. But I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. We definitely hear you. Anyone else want to share?
I put mine in the chat box,
Okay.
but I think people see me, of course, as a Black female. And then I think at the waterline, they see my gray and they know that I'm a person of a certain age. And what's below the line is that I have a meditation, I'm a meditation and contemplative practice practitioner.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. I love that. Thanks for sharing. Well, with the identity iceberg, it makes you think about the levels of your identity. You're not just what people assume from observing you. As you can see, only 10% of an iceberg you can see. And so the largest part of you are the parts that are sometimes hidden, and often others assume, you know, what may be at the waterline, that's your core identity, or even, you know, you try to get to know someone, but all they want to show you is what is above waterline. And so with Mahogany Bros, we were able to connect on a level where we became sisters, support systems, where we were able to see, we were in a safe place. We felt safe and secure enough to show each other our whole iceberg. And that's what we hope for you all, especially the ones that are in Home Scholars, because that's really our mission, the community. Danica and I are actually a part of the national board, and we push that community so much because at this level, being in grad school, support and mentorship is crucial to your success. And so I'm going to pass it over to Danica.
Thank you, Erica. So on this next slide that is loading up, it's going to have this phrase, what is resilience? And you're going to learn very quickly that we love participation. I don't like talking to myself. I see Tanya and Erica all the time. So please write in the chat. You could just give me one word. When you hear the word resilience, what is the first word that comes to mind? You can unmute yourself and throw out a word. I will throw out the word strength. So that is the word that comes to mind when I hear resilience. Anybody else?
Perseverance.
Ooh, I love that. Perseverance.
Determination.
Yes, yes. I need one to keep going. I love that, Venus. Awesome. So what you'll see on the next slide is the textbook definition of resilience, and it states the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustment to external and internal demands. And what I like to sum that up is it's basically your ability to bounce back after you hit a wall, and it doesn't matter where specifically that wall is. So I call it the bounce back. And again, you can look for a term that works for you, but I want each and every person to realize that we are all resilient because we're here, and how exactly to draw onto it. So on the next slide, you're going to see.
And I just want to interrupt you just for a minute and say that Angela said flexibility in the chat.
Oh, awesome. And I said defying odds. I love that, Jonathan. Thank you guys for sharing. And this is not the last time we will call upon you. So listen up, you guys will be involved. So, and the next part we're going to go into is what are some of those influences of resilience? So of course we have our God-given unique personality traits and characteristics because we're all different. Another thing to consider when we think about resilience is our family environment and our support. And family doesn't always have to look like our biological family. It could be those who are close to you your entire life, the ones that have shaped you to being the person that you are, that have basically played a role in the learned experiences you have, and then that outer circle, which is community. So those extra people as well. Then we're going to move on to the next slide. And what you're going to see, there it is it's talking about the attributes of resilience. And I just wanted to talk briefly about each of them. One of the ones you're going to see is problem solving skills. So this is so essential. We think about when a crisis emerges and how resilient people are able to spot the solution, which can lead to a safe outcome. Another attribute of resilience is emotional regulation. And what that is the ability to regulate your emotions effectively. So you can recognize in a specific moment, I'm having an emotional response, and to understand what is causing the response can help you better handle your emotions and cope with it at that time. Another strong attribute is having strong social connections. So whenever you're dealing with a problem, it's important to have people who can offer support. And in this specific instance, in our doctoral program, it's the ladies that are presenting with me today. So we're able to talk about the challenges that we are facing. It could be an excellent way to gain perspective, an excellent way to look for solutions, or even simply just to express emotion. It's so important for resilient people, which is all of you, to have a network of friends, family, co-workers, or even online support groups to make sure that you're socially connected with. And the last attribute I'm going to talk about is self-awareness, and I'm going to even break it down further to self-compassion, is to realize that resilient people are also compassionate towards themselves. So this means that you tend to notice when you may need a break, and also can help with your self-compassion, can help boost your overall health and resilience and ensure you're ready to face life challenges. And we're definitely going to dig more into this. This may be synonymous a little bit with self-care, mental wealth. So I just wanted to give you an idea of where we're going with this. And on the next slide, what we're going to talk about is factors that lead to resiliency. And some of those factors include a good support system. It could also be good self-image, also even a growth mindset. So when we think about good support system, again, who's in your corner? Who is rooting you on? Who's your why? You know, some people say sometimes their why is a picture of their 2-year-old, you know, or sometimes it's a picture of your ancestors. And it doesn't matter, but just making sure you have that support system, knowing who's in your corner and your big why. The next one is good self-image. How are you talking to yourself? I remember I told myself I need to start speaking as kindly to myself as I do to others, meaning, Tani, you're doing great. I'm so proud of you. Erica, oh, that was phenomenal. Look in the mirror. Danica, you're an idiot. Those type of things, making sure that we realize how we talk to ourselves is so important. It doesn't make sense that I can encourage everyone else but myself. It should start with me. And then the last one is a growth mindset. What is your attitude when challenges come? And in this next section, I'm going to have the neuro guru, which is Tani. He's going to kind of dig in deeper into the neuro side of resiliency. So go ahead, Tani.
Thank you, Danica. So one thing I have to say about being with Danica, Phoenicia, and Erica is that when we talk about the brain, they let me geek out. Even though they're like, all right, go for it. So So we're talking about culture and, just going on. And I was like, oh, I know how that can connect to the brain. They're like, all right, just go, like go for it because it's helpful. But my fascination with the brain has to do with just my love of science and understanding the why we do things, how certain personalities are or attributes are reinforced throughout our environment. And so I want to kind of take a step back to what is going on within ourselves when we're talking about social neuroscience. So what I like to do is I like to teach the hand model to our brain. So if you're not driving and you are able to, I want you to hold your hand up, put your thumb in the middle and close it on over, okay? So this part down here is your reptilian brain, okay? Then this part right here, I'm going to talk about is your limbic system. And then as you close over your thumb, this part right here is the neocortex, okay? So a lot of people think that like our brain is in separate parts and it functions differently, but you can see all of the parts are being connected. So the information in the synapses are always traveling one to another. So that's a really common misconception. But again, and as you can see, the shape of your hand is very similar to your brain, right? That you're making. And so first I want to talk about our lizard brain, which is down here. The first brain, we're going to call it the reptilian region, and it's about 500 million years old. And the reason why it's nicknamed the lizard brain is because it's made up of the two same structures found in other reptiles, so the brainstem and the cerebellum. It doesn't think, it only reacts, okay? So it's always on, even when we're sleeping. And the lizard brain is what allows you to smell smoke or hear a loud suspicious noise while you're asleep. That's this part here, okay? So then stacked right on top of the lizard brain is your limbic system, okay? And so the limbic system is also the part of the brain that communicates emotion. So this is the part that links emotions, behavior to cognition. As you can see, it goes right to the neocortex, okay? Also, what I'll say about the limbic system is that it houses the amygdala, and the amygdala is responsible for the fear system. So that's where the flight or fight responses it comes from, is that limbic system. Is everybody familiar with that flight or fright response when we're scared? I'm seeing some head nods. So yeah, so there's two other ones, right? There's like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. But again, I'm trying not to geek out. I'm trying to stay focused. And so then, right, going further up to the neocortex, your frontal lobe, that is compared to the reptilian region, it's slower to process information, but that's where our intelligence is, right? So that's where our creativity flows from, our organization, our abstract thinking, and our self-regulation. So all of these parts of our brain are connected and work together to guide our behaviors. I hope that was helpful. Okay, so this is your brain on culture, okay? So oftentimes the brain is seeking to minimize social threats and to maximize opportunities to connect with others in the community. So cultures with a strong oral tradition that rely on memory and social engagement to process learning. So if you're from a collectivist country like the Philippines or Haiti or Mexico or Nigeria, you're used to social interactions such as conversation and storytelling to build connections to each other. So that goes back to being self-aware and understanding how what part your culture plays into the needs that you are looking for, or in an environment.
Yeah, you're freezing a bit.
So our nervous system is, and so, oh no, am I breaking up?
Just a little bit, but go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
If you want to try to turn your camera off, that may help, Tani.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that now. What's the last thing you heard me say so I can pick up clearly? What's the last thing you heard me say clearly?
You're talking about the specific countries. You said like Haiti, Philippines, Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
That's self-awareness. Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, having that self-awareness and knowing what part of you is needing to be fed, you know, that's going to play a part into how you interact. I think I'm frozen again. No, I'm okay. Okay.
Yes, you are.
You're good.
Okay, thank you. And so again, like our nervous system is designed to guide us towards avoiding threats, right? And so we have to approach rewards. We want to approach rewards and things that make us feel good. And that may include, you know, attaching ourselves to others for safety and companionship. But specifically, when we are in community with each other, the oxytocin is triggered, and that helps the amygdala stay calm. So that your frontal lobe can focus on high order thinking and learning. So we can go to the next slide. And so as Danica had mentioned, you know, having a good self-image is a huge factor. So what are you telling yourself? What is that inner voice that guides our moment to moment reflections? So there's a lot of research that shows that self-talk leads to understanding of how people think about themselves, which then guides how they approach others, right? And so we all have an internal monologue that we engage from time to time. And so self-talk is actually a form of self-control. So it's a strategy for self-regulation. So I'm gonna invite you to kind of analyze yourself. Like, how are you talking to yourself? You know, are you super critical? Are you encouraging? Are you super critical trying to be encouraging like me? I'm in that transition, right? It's like, and again, to further geek out, like we have synapses in our brain. So the more we think a thought, and then we reinforce that thought, the easier it is to retrieve it, the more automatic it is to retrieve that thought. And so if you're thinking about like a pathway that has been minimally walked, right? I'm going to compare that to starting a new habit. So that's similar to the brain and developing these positive self-talks. Initially, it might be really difficult. Your synapses are trying to connect to each other, but the more you do it, the easier it is, the more automatic it becomes. So just want to share that. And so lastly, Danica, we will talk about growth mindset a little bit more in depth, but happiness, that oxytocin is the key strategy to calming that lizard brain down when it says to, you know, there's a threat, you know, in that anxiety. And so the key practice to calming that lizard brain down is through relaxation and mindfulness and what Dr. Cobb practices, which makes us understand why she's so graceful. And so there's a lot of research in neurobiology that proves that these techniques reduce the flight or fight hormones that gets released when our brains feel that physical or social threat. It's part of our resilience strategy. So hopefully that was helpful, that you have an understanding of the neurobiology that happens within ourselves, all of us. And I'm going to pass it on over to Danica.
Thank you, Tani. I love when you geek out over the brain. I always learn something new. And I'm back, which means you guys have to participate. So what we're going to do now is kind of tying together some of the things we've talked about so far. And we want to do a small snippet of what I like to call story time about instances of having to persevere in higher ed where we've had to rely on our resilience. And you can use one of the themes that we have on the right-hand side, or if you want to share your own personal story. So an example would be You could talk about a time where you were the minority in the group and when you walked in, how you initially felt, but what you did to overcome that. Or maybe an instance where you experienced imposter syndrome and you literally thought you couldn't do something, but you incorporated positive self-talk, or maybe culture shock. And again, it could be any topic or situation that comes to mind for you, but we just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to reflect on your personal experience and share those times that you had to persevere. If not, we are more than glad to share some of our stories, but I would love to turn the mic to anyone to share one of those. You can unmute, you can use the chat, you can give me 2 words in the chat, whatever you guys feel comfortable with.
If y'all don't mind, I'd like to share something.
Sure.
So it was for boot camp for me. Honestly, I went in with the New York mentality of, you know, I got this, no doubt, this is easy. And it was kind of a culture shock to learn that actually we are one of the most hated people in the US, believe it or not, from other people. So it was kind of hard to leave that New York image where I had to think tough and everything. So I kind of used it to my advantage, where we have the mentality of we won't give up until we get what we want. Like, we're going to hustle our way. We're going to keep going no matter what. So it was a hard battle to have to go through learning Southern hospitality, the West Coast stuff and all those things. So it was kind of hard, but then I kind of broke that mold a little bit to kind of get to know everybody, because I felt like the minority of the group, because there was like very few of us. And then there's like, you know, the Southern folks, the Midwest, the West Coast. So it kind of broke me in a sense that, in a good way, that, you know, just kind of think outside the box. You know, there's other ways to go about approaching things instead of like the I got this kind of asking for help. You know, seeking out help was the main thing for me. I never liked asking for help to begin with. It was like, nah, I got this. Nah, I don't need help. You know, I'm not. But then something was like, you know what? This is meant to break you to learn teamwork. Like, so it eventually got to me where it was like, you know what, fellas, I need help. And they were like, all right, let's do this. And it's like, wow, okay. So it broke me in a mold of, I got this, to, hey, I need help. Who can help me? And ever since then, I've just been a kind of person that always, if anything, even in my marriage or in work, I'm like, listen, I need help. I need guidance, or just need a vent or things like that. So it's kind of helpful.
That's really good commentary. And Elma is saying so true in the in the chat box as you were speaking, Jonathan.
Yeah, because, you know, it's a lot of us who, and some of us have the fortune of leaving New York or leaving outside of our home states. Some of us don't, and we just know that culture of just where we're from. You know, luckily for me, my parents are immigrants, so I'm first generation as well. So for me, it was hard to break that mold too, because I'm Colombian. And the first thing people automatically think is, oh, narcos, Pablo Escobar and all that. So we get that image. It's, you know, and I guess rightfully so. My country's history has a dirty past, but people don't look beyond that to say, yo, you know what? There's other things to offer. You know, sometimes we as ethnicities, we get, you know, enclosed in our stereotypes. And that kind of breaks us in a way. I just kind of looked at it and said, you know what? I'm much more than what they see on TV, on the shows and the movies. You know, I'm better than that. You know, so my father always made it his business to go, you know, don't let our ethnicities past judge you. Be something else. Break that mold. Like always, he said, break it. Don't let yourself get caught in that. Break it.
Yeah. And I'm just saying that's good commentary, because also I think Tani is agreeing with you. You wanted to add to that, Tani?
Well, sure. Well, my comment was that, yeah, it's part of maybe there's a theme. What is it, Erica? A phenomenology among firstborn generation, is that we are expected to be self-sufficient and resourceful, because our parents, they've sacrificed so much for us. And so while they are focusing on maintaining our survival, making sure that they're eating, that we are able to eat from their hard work, then that gives us the chance to you know, make the most of their sacrifices. But with that expectation, right, there is a necessity to be self-sufficient and resourceful, and that develops the pride in us. But we have to remember that, like you said, Jonathan, just asking for help is necessary. You know, we weren't meant to do this alone. We are social creatures and creative creatures. So it's really interesting for me, you know, just hear a lot of the similarities that you've experienced as well. So that's awesome. And 2 points for hitting on culture shock and being the minority in the group.
Ding, 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 ding. Honestly, Jonathan, thank you for being vulnerable and transparent. And I think your story is the perfect segue to our next portion as well. And don't worry, there's more time to participate. And what we're going to get into sometimes what we consider the side effects of resilience. So on the next slide, what you see is like a little detour, like a little exit, because when we hear resilience, we think of these strong terms, these powerful words, that almost self-sufficient words. And we want to make sure that we touch on topics that make sure that we incorporate self-care, mental wealth, and that we're actually taking care of ourselves. Being strong doesn't mean that we don't have anyone in our corner. We can do it on our own without check-ins. So what I'm gonna do now is pass it to Erica, and she is our self-care guru, and she's gonna get and dive into the next part.
Yes. So one thing that you may not know about me is I'm also a trainer. So I'm a personal trainer, and so I'm all about health and wellness and well-being. And so I know most of us have heard about mental health, but within the last few years, researchers have adopted the idea of mental wealth. So what is mental wealth? It's how we tap into our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions to reframe how we are viewing our lives. So in essence, the term is a combination between mental health and well-being. And one reason why they wanted to really change up or even just develop another word to discuss wellness and well-being is because mental illness and mental health sometimes have that negative connotation of disease. And what we want to adopt to is that our mental health is an asset. It's something that you invest in. Just like you would invest in your 401k or invest in your education, you have to invest in the health of your mentality, your mental, your emotional, and your physical. So why do we do it? It's about identifying our strengths and having compassion, which Danica said, for ourselves and others, and just learning how to be our best self. And so knowing that we are going to need help, knowing that we are going to make mistakes, knowing that we are also going to have maybe those moments of imposter syndrome, those things are okay. But what are we doing to check in ourselves and maybe those self-talk moments where you say, you know what, I can't do this? Like, what are some strategies to get your mind on a healthier path? And we have to learn that in higher education, you're about to graduate, get this degree, you are a commodity. The world know it, universities know it, jobs know it. You are an asset. And so you have to treat yourself as such. You are of value. You need to invest in yourself. You need to take time to check in to yourself, your feelings, your emotions. And that's where we get into self-care. Self-care has been a big part of mental wealth and just your well-being. And think about it. As when I first got into my program, we started during the pandemic. And so it being me being a first generation student, being at home, being very nervous about, what is a PhD? What is this world about? What does it consist of? And, I had no family. Actually, I'm going to be the first one in my family with a PhD. So there wasn't anyone I was related to. I don't have many friends that have PhDs. So I came in thinking about, oh, I just have to, run, like run, keep my head above water. And I used to literally be at my desk, my home desk, for hours in a day. Why is that a problem? Because I had a husband and a son. And I needed those boundaries. My family had to come to me and say, do you know that you hadn't even come out to, even check on us? Yes, they got fed. Yes, my son got picked up. But other than that, picked up from school. But other than that, I was so focused and consumed on being a great student, being a great professor, that I was not taking care of myself and my priorities. So the goal of self-care is to honor yourself. In that moment, in my first year, I had to create balance and I had to learn how to honor myself. I had to learn that, yes, I have this 20-page paper due, but you know what? I still have to take time out, maybe 15 minutes, to go outside and look at the sky, check the weather. There was times where I wouldn't even know. It could be 60 degrees and that's really big in Florida. And I wouldn't even know. And that is very unhealthy. And so the objective of self-care is to reduce your stress. And that's what Tani was talking about. Stress will kill you. And we know this. However, we take it on almost like we have to. And we don't. We do not have to. There's breathing techniques. There's moments. There's apps that you can use where you can just learn how to self-regulate your emotions. I actually have alarms on my phone that will give me affirmations. I know if you have Apple, they'll tell you, if you set goals, like it's time to stand up, even those things are just trying to move us towards being physically healthy and mentally healthy, and maintaining and enhancing, your short-term and long-term health and wellness goals are really important, which brings me into being intentional. I was not intentional about honoring myself. And so it's so easy to put yourself and your needs on the back burner when you are trying to pursue a goal like a degree. That's huge. And like a lot of us, we're first generations. There's people in our family that don't know this journey, and we don't want to disappoint them. We want to do our best. And yes, that is all important, but you are important. You are important too. Your well-being, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health is important too. So raise your hand or put a thumb up if you have a self-care regimen. They're not just going to fall out of the sky. I tell you that. You really have to be intentional about, tapping into yourself. And I found when I do these things on a weekly basis, overall, mentally, emotionally, and physically, I am intact. I feel good. This is my schedule from Monday to Thursday. That's when I work. And I try to meditate, exercise, or connect at least twice throughout the week. And if you look at, these things that I do, one is physical, one is emotional, and one is psychological. And that's purposely because I want to be well-rounded. And so during my meditation time, sometimes it can look like journaling. Sometimes it can look like praying. Sometimes it can look like just listening to affirming, uplifting music. My exercise, like I said, I'm a personal trainer, so I love to be in the gym. But the dedication of this program, I don't always have an hour to run to the gym. So even just going to take a walk outside gives me a check. Our campus is beautiful. It's huge. We're in Florida, so yes, it's a little hot. But sometimes it's as simple as parking my car at my office and walking to my class and just, looking at the trees, at our waterfall, feeling the weather, the breeze, and then connect. Connect it's just my social outlet, giving a family member a call, a best friend a call, even socially, even, staying relevant and scrolling through maybe TikTok to see there's a lot of cool things for educators there, pulling out strategies from TikTok, or even just watching an episode of my favorite show. Is also like staying connected with culture. And so I just want you all to think about really setting a regimen for yourself, for your self-care, because that's literally by far the number one challenge that coming into higher education that you'll face is that work family, that work self balance, and this will help you balance. Now, one thing I will say, I said balance, and I really don't do balance. I do boundaries, because this is what that is. Self-care is a boundary. It's saying, hey, I am going to stop doing this so that I can care for myself. This is where this stops and I start taking care of myself. Even if it's 15 minutes a day, I'm meditating. 15 minutes a day, I'm exercising. I go and scroll on TikTok for 10 minutes between writing a 20-page manuscript. Like, you have to find ways to input time for you and honoring yourself. Danica, I know you have, you've been on a journey. You just started a journey. Would you like to share your regimen?
Absolutely. So on the next slide, what you're going to see is a bunch of terms that would come out of my mouth. I'm not good at this. I give up. I'm a failure. This is too hard. I can't seem to do anything right. And what I started to incorporate was a system of walking every day because I needed some sunlight, and also doing positive affirmations for myself. So counteracting all of these specific thoughts, which could be things that are like, girl, you've got this, or if it's something, if it's a verse, a dope quote I saw on Instagram, if it works, it works. And on this next slide, what you're going to see is what we call the island of competence. And basically what that is something that's tangible for you to do. These are different type of ideas or resources that you can incorporate to your own personal life. Because I want to give time for us to talk at the end. I'll just let you guys read through these, but if you need examples, if you have questions, we're going to share contact information. Please feel free to reach out, because we realize these are the things that are so important that we each need to strive to in our own personal walks. And on the last slide, because I need some crowd participation, we're gonna do a call to action. And I just want someone, you can unmute yourself, you can drop in the chat. What is one thing you'll be adding to your self-care routine? Walking, affirmations, bubble bath, massage, stretching, working out, anything that you guys can think of that you wanna share. All right, I will be monitoring the chat, or if you can unmute yourselves. What is one thing you can, journaling. I love that, Cassandra. Yes, for the date night, Jonathan. Yes, and don't talk about school. Do not talk about school during your date night. Awesome. Awesome, so those are actually some great family time. Yes, that's a great spa. Yes, spa.
I'm gonna come hang out with you, Elma.
I know. I'm gonna add a group spa date. Family time, so important. Yoga. Yes, awesome. And again, what you're going to see on this slide is our contact information. I'm only here because somebody reached back. Please do it when I get to Florida. Oh, absolutely. Let us know when you get to Florida. Our email's right on the slide. So one thing we want to make sure that we do is to reach back as well as we're climbing forward. I'm only here because somebody reached back to help me. If you have questions, you want to connect, we are all working with children with special needs, but we have so many connections at the University of Central Florida. So please feel free to reach out, email us. I think it's so important that we build a community. And one thing I always tell people, if I don't know, I know somebody who knows. If Erica don't know, she gonna find someone who knows. So definitely wanted to leave you guys with our info. And we do have a slide with resources that's about to come next, but we just wanted to give this time to see if anyone had questions, thoughts. Maybe we probed a question earlier and you didn't get to answer it, but you're like, I want to get this thought off my shoulder. So we just wanted to make sure we put some time in place. We want to respect your time. So the last few minutes for you guys to share. Any questions?
Yes, and before you ask questions, I just noticed that stimulated a lot of responses. You know, what you're going to do to, you know, think about yourself, listening to music, jogging, yoga. That's really good stuff. And yes, if anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself or comments. And please unmute yourself and you can speak.
And I see 2 more comments I didn't see earlier. I said listening to music, yes. Also jogging, yep. I'm not like a full runner yet, but a good jog, I can do that. I can get with that.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, this definitely is in my wheelhouse, and I'm the nerd, so I love the stuff around the brain. I think that's important. It is helpful to know that, you know, what we're trying to do when we're trying to relieve ourselves of stress is working with that vagus nerve, and that vagus nerve is the longest nerve in our body. And sometimes taking a pause and breathing in and exhaling. So I will tell you, I am into breath work, tapping, you know, yoga, all of that is important. But one of the things that I really want to applaud you on is that many times we think self-care comes after we take care of the other things. Like, we're like, you know, I have to do this, but of course I gotta take care of the kids and I gotta take care of my husband. And of course I gotta write this paper or whatever. And so we keep putting it off. I applaud all of you because you're saying you need to schedule it in. You need to make a point. And we use the metaphor of the plane, put your mask on first. And I know that people think that, you know, yes, yeah, put your mask on first so you can help others. But the issue is that if you do not put your mask on first, if you're not 100%, if you're not regulated, then you really have difficulty helping other people. And so I really applaud you for coming to this. I would say that it has taken me a long time to get here. And then also as a person of color, I would say that, you know, you're in this society that really does not support people. And so therefore taking control and taking ownership for your own wellness, I applaud you as women, as people of color. And so thank you for this.
Thank you. We definitely want to make sure that self-care is not an emergency response plan. It's not, you can't activate your self-care after being overwhelmed. That's what, if there's one point, I want to make that point. It's not the go-to after. It's it has to be a lifestyle, just like your physical wellness. It has to be a part of your life, incorporated, implemented daily, weekly. I'm telling you, you will feel the difference. Your body will love you. It'll give you this huge hug every morning when you take care of yourself. And so it's really important, especially in higher education, because expectations are high. And I know you expect the most of yourself. And so in doing that, you need to make sure that you're providing and feeding your mind and your body with all of the necessities to be able to be your best self. So thank you all for inviting us. I'll go back to the slide. Actually, these, someone mentioned apps. There in the resources, there are different apps that I connected to these links for your mental, emotional, physical, and social apps. So, make sure you click on those. We'll have the slide available for those who would like it. And again, like, we are a resource for you now. call on us, like Danica said. If we don't know, we'll find the connect. We'll link you to wherever you need to go. But Mahogany Rose is who we are, and we love doing things like this because, like she said, we've gotten help. We have great mentorship and support at our program, and we just want to do that for others because we know as minorities, and all of us are on grants that has, like, people believe in us, and we believe in you. We believe in you so much that we're going to offer our names up to you and our resources up to you. And don't be scared to take those opportunities because you never know where it'll take you.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. That is so great. And even adding to, people are saying thank you so much. And people, one person said, who was it? Venus said, call a friend. I thought that was so appropriate, call a friend. How many of us do not take time to call somebody just to see how that person is doing? And so, yes, I concur with everything that's said. You've done a wonderful presentation, about resilience and wellness and keeping yourself up and navigating while you are in higher education. And this is very helpful, and I would share this PowerPoint with everyone. I mean, I'm certainly going to share with me, and I'll share it with everyone else. So you're getting a lot of accolades. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing presentation. Oh, thank you for your time. Thank you for the encouragement. Great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. And we appreciate it. And we are at like 2 minutes to go, and couldn't pick a better time, a better presentation. And in this time, at this, while we're in this pandemic. So again, I want to thank you. And I just want to give everyone an opportunity. If you want to say anything else, you can right now. And before we close out. So I want to thank Erica Moore, Danica Moyes, and Tani Wilder. And I'm sure you'll tell Phoenicia Young, right, that we missed her, and I know that she wanted to be here, but tell her we mentioned her and we miss her, right? Absolutely great stuff, and thank you for everything, everyone. And with that, I'll be sharing this stuff with everyone who's at the meeting, and everyone have a wonderful evening.